Good morning, students of class 10. Welcome back to the online classes now. Let's continue our lesson in English. A triumph of surgery. Triumph means victory, and we were continuing the lesson and reached that when Mr. Harriot, the writer or the doctor, veterinary doctor, when he saw Mrs. Pumphrey and the dog Tricky walking along the road, the dog was listless. It found it very difficult to walk, and Mr. Harriot, he pulled his car and asked about his well-being. Mrs. Pumphrey complained that her dog stopped eating, does not want to eat even his favorite food, and so on, complained. Now here, and Mr. Harriot advised her to cut on sweets, to keep him on a strict diet. Then Mrs. Pumphrey said, "Oh, I tried a bit, but I find it very difficult. I cannot see the dog sleeping just like that on the rug. I thought he has no energy. That's why I used to feed him in between the meals also. And the dog used to eat every time without refusing. That was the main reason." And the writer knew the problem lies there. And he was expecting that Mrs. Pumphrey will call within a few days. Just see, because the dog has stopped eating. Dog is listless, without any energy, find it very difficult to walk even. So now, number one, the expected call. Mr. Harriot was expecting a call, and the expected call came within a few days. Mrs. Pumphrey said, she was a multimillionaire. Mrs. Pumphrey said her dog spent all his time lying on a rug. Rug means a small piece of cloth. Lying on a rug. Does not want to go for walks. Does not want to eat. Does not want to go for walks. And it lay there whole day on a piece of rug. So Mr. Harriot suggested, the veterinary doctor, the writer, Mr. Harriot suggested her that he be hospitalized. He must be hospitalized to keep him under observation for a fortnight. Fortnight means 15 days. He must be hospitalized for at least 2 weeks, so that I can watch, so that I can observe, treat him. He suggested that he means the dog, Tricky, be hospitalized for a fortnight, 15 days, to be kept under observation. The poor lady, Mrs. Pumphrey, the poor lady almost swooned. Swooned means fainted. She almost fainted hearing that her best pet dog be kept in the hospital for 15 days. She almost fainted hearing that. She was sure, Mrs. Pumphrey was sure that she would die if she cannot see her dog even for a day. She would die if she did not see him every day. How can I send him for 15 days? I cannot live a single minute without my dog. It's very difficult for me. She almost fainted and she cried. She started wailing. Wailing means to cry loudly. Harriot said firmly, strictly, he said that this was the only thing to save him. If you want your dog, send him in the hospital or the clinic for 15 days, for a fortnight. This is the only way to save him. This was the only way to save him, otherwise you will lose your dog. Number 5. Mr. Harriot thought it best to take him without delay. Mr. Harriot thought that it's better to take him right away, right now, otherwise it will be too late. Without delay, he must be hospitalized. So he brought his car, Mr. Harriot brought his car, and Mrs. Pumphrey started wailing when Mr. Harriot said that without delay I must take him to the hospital. Mrs. Pumphrey started wailing. Wailing means to cry out loudly. When he carried the dog, when Mr. Harriot carried the dog wrapped in a blanket, he carried the dog towards the car. Mrs. Pumphrey started wailing, crying loudly. The maids means she had many servants, lady servants. Mrs. Pumphrey had many lady servants. They were called, lady servant is called a maid, M-A-I-D. The maids rushed in and out of the house. The lady servants, many servants she had, they rushed in and out of the house, bringing his day bed means bedding, bringing his day beddings, night beddings, coats, cushions, lot of cushions, rubber rings, toys, breakfast bowl, lunch bowl, dinner bowl, supper bowl, and all kinds of things. Mr. Harriot kept on watching. All these things cannot be fit. They cannot fit in my car. So he started driving the car. If he keeps on waiting for certain minutes or few minutes more, the car would be overpacked. And he started his car. He kept the dog, which is wrapped, that was wrapped in a blanket, kept it on the seat, the front seat, and Mr. Harriot started the car. And as he was about to drive him out from that compound, Mrs. Pumphrey bought a bundle of coats, tweed coats for Tricky, and she threw the coats inside the car from the window. The car was packed with lot of things, beddings, day beddings, night beddings, morning breakfast bowls, lunch bowl, dinner bowl, toys, rubber rings, cushions, and many more things. The car was full, it was packed. What happens after that in the clinic? Let's see. We'll continue our lesson in our next class. This much for today. Go through that, read the book. You should not waste your time. That's all for today. We'll meet in the next class and continue our lessons. That's all for today. It's a very short videos. You can go through it. If I make it very long, then you won't feel it. You will not have any interest in that. So short and to the point. So that's all for today. We'll meet in the next class. Thank you very much for watching.